Hello everyone, today we have received a wild update for Escape from Tarkov, something the likes of which I have never seen before, and I am astounded that we've got some of these things here. But let's go from the beginning and go through all of it. Some of these changes are going to take time to figure out afterwards, after the patch goes live, but it's also going to take 6 hours for them to update it, which is probably the biggest length of time that we've ever seen for a patch to come through. So, patch 14.6. This is introducing the Unheard Edition, and there is a trailer that goes through this as well, which confirms some of the things that are written down here. I assume once the patch goes live, this will then be available for purchase on the website. So what you get is access to PvE co-op with persistent progression. This is something people have been asking about for ages, and this on its own, like as a feature, is a really good thing. I thought that BSG's stance on this was that they were never going to release this kind of edition, but they brought it out, and so now you're going to have a separate character. Progression will not be reset with the wipes. It's going to be completely separate to your main character that you play on Escape from Tarkov, so you can play with your friends offline whenever you like. You're not going to wipe, you're not going to have to worry about progression or anything like that, so you could potentially go through the entire game and access all the content over a period of 3 years or something. This new edition is going to have a bigger stash size than even EOD, so 10 by 72. You get some increased starting level of character skills. What it looks like from at least the trailer is that it'll be level 3 in everything. This doesn't really matter so much for things like endurance and strength, but it does matter for stuff like sniper skill, because obviously that contributes towards some of the quests, and also things like vitality, which block out the hideout. Another slightly controversial one is that you'll get expanded PMC pockets, so it'll be like having a scav vest on in your pockets. Yes, it's only 2 more slots, but the reason why this actually matters is that you can now hold like a Salewa or a car kit or a magazine, even up to something like a 60 rounder on your PMC without wearing a rig. This is actually quite a big deal. Imagine a quest like Punisher Part 4, where you have to go to Lighthouse and only use a scav vest. Well, now you have the space for extra magazines within your pockets instead, so you're really not limited like you were before at all. Previously, you could only take 2 magazines with you, one in the gun and one in the rig, because if you reloaded with a 3rd magazine, then it would fall on the ground. But now you've got an extra 2 sets of slots for 2x1s, so it's nowhere near as problematic as it used to be. Just some things to think about with this. Additional equipment and resources in stash. This normally doesn't matter unless it's cases or something, so we'll see what that looks like. A unique in-game ID, which I presume means that somebody can't steal your ID when you start a new game, because when you go into a wipe, then you have to choose your name and people can take your ID, something like that. Unique radio electronic item Mark of the Unheard. We have no idea what this does at the moment, but I assume that it can't be too critical, because if it's unique, then, well, it means that nobody else can get it. Unique in-game melee weapon and unique in-game armband. I don't really care about that. That's just cosmetics. That's fine. Increased mail retention time, so presumably that's Prapor, and if you get rewards from quests or back from insurance, which could be quite a big deal. Increased fence standing, which is nice quality of life but doesn't matter that much. An additional main menu background, which again is cosmetic, so it's fine. And this one, which I think is highly controversial, which is access to the early test server. So this is the ETS where BSG test out various upcoming changes to patches or whatever, and it's usually restricted under not necessarily NDA, but there's kind of an agreement that you have to say that I'm not going to release any information about this, and you get kicked out of ETS if you leak any of the info. Well, if you buy this version of the package, I mean, have you actually had to sign that? Like, can you get kicked out of ETS if you buy this version? I'm not really sure. Maybe this insinuates some kind of relaxation on the rules around ETS as well, which I don't think would necessarily be a bad thing. But this is very, very interesting as a point here. Now, out of all of these things, I think the most controversial part is that the PvE co-op mode with persistent progression is not going to be part of EOD. It is not being counted as DLC as far as BSG are concerned, at least from their original determination, which I think is a massive mistake. A PvE co-op mode is a distinct new mode within Escape from Tarkov. I really do think that EOD people should get this mode. All of the other stuff is kind of whatever. You should also be able to earn the PMC pocket stuff in game. I have no idea yet whether that's possible or not, but I think that should be doable. The rest of it I just don't think matters that much, except maybe ETS. But the PvE co-op mode, I really think that should be DLC for EOD, because otherwise EOD users are going to feel really cheated out of this system, and it leaves the community with a very bad taste. There's a couple of other things as well that have so far been confirmed on the official Escape from Tarkov wiki by a mod, which is that the website is currently updating. You'll be able to see that when it comes through. The new version with PvE will be completely separate to the main game, so there's no crossover between the PvP servers and the PvE servers at all. As I said, it's not DLC and not included with EOD, but all quests will be available, and there will be PMCs in the game that are AI to allow you to complete things like Punisher. They don't know about the container version at the moment, so we'll have to see. The expanded pockets are like a scav vest, the starting stash is bigger, as we saw. It's not confirmed yet whether the fleet will be common between PvE and PvP servers. I sure hope not, because you'll be able to farm Ledexes and sell them on the PvP server, so I hope that the fleet is going to be completely separate. EOD owners can upgrade and retain all of the EOD benefits. The perks will persist across all versions of the game, so yes, you'll get better skills and bigger pockets on the PvP version, The Unheard Edition will get additional items, including containers on every wipe in the main account, so assuming there are containers coming with the starting loadout. And then apparently the full edition, if you're buying it from nothing at all, so you don't have the game whatsoever, is starting at $250 plus taxes on top, which is pretty crazy. I can't quite remember what the EOD account sells for right now. I think it's $150, but as the website is down due to maintenance, I can't check. But this would mean that if you had EOD, you would then have to be paying $100 to do the upgrade, and then obviously plus taxes in your region. In Europe, it's going to be a little bit different. It usually isn't that much cheaper in euros and pounds than it is in USD, always kind of unfortunately. So it's going to be pretty expensive, even for EOD users. If it was more like, $50 or something, then maybe that would be kind of acceptable. I think $100 really is a lot. So this is clearly shaking up in the community big time. Like, Twitter is going completely crazy about this. There's loads of stuff about pay to win and whatever, and it just pushes out that envelope a little bit further. We're gonna have to see how this shakes down completely. I don't really like it right now, especially the fact that the guys who have EOD don't get this PvE version. That's, for me, I think if they change that, I think the rest of it we could probably just accept, but that I really think is like a big red line that BSG are going through, unfortunately. So the rest of the changes, there's actually a bunch of other stuff which is actually quite decent for the game for PvP, which is kind of a shame because it's going to get overshadowed by these other things that we've just talked about. So they're switching the in-game season to late spring, which I guess will remove the snow, reducing the base inertia strength, so inertia won't feel as strong when you're first starting the game at level 1. Aim punch is being reduced, blur effect was being reduced when you're taking damage, and the camera shake effect is also being reduced while shooting. So all of these things are going to make PvP feel a little bit fairer and little bit less like, you take one hit and then you just can't aim at all anymore. Also better fighting against bosses and stuff like that. But it is kind of interesting because in the interview that Nikita did with Pestily, he said that he thought that all of this stuff was already too low. Maybe he was talking about Arena in particular, but they've put this stuff through in the base game, so we'll see how much impact that has in terms of PvP. It's hard to tell just from a list like this. Then the final section is all about body hitbox penetration and some of the ballistic stuff. We're going to have to test this in-game, but what we can see from now, change the mechanics of body hitbox penetration. Now the body hitbox is always penetrated if the round's pen power is higher than the hitbox penetration threshold. I thought this was the same in the last patch, but maybe they're just confirming it. So the head, the forearm, the shoulder, the calf, and the thigh hitboxes now have a threshold value of 20. As I said, I thought the Airwing Marine already tested this and confirmed that it was 20. So if you have 20 pen or more, you can penetrate through a body part and hit something else or hit somebody behind them. The damage and penetration power of a bullet degrades when it penetrates the body hitbox, meaning that the next body hitbox will receive reduced damage. Okay, well, that makes total sense. The extent of damage reduction depends primarily on the round's penetration power stat. Well, we kind of knew that already as well. So the higher the penetration power you have, the less damage is going to be mitigated. That kind of works the same way as armor, so it's not really surprising. Secondly, it depends on the caliber of the round and the body part's hitbox penetration threshold. I don't know whether caliber in particular matters or whether they're kind of referring to the fact that armor damage percentages and other penetration stats kind of depend on the caliber. Maybe caliber does matter. And the body part's hitbox penetration threshold, which, as we said, is like 20 for these pieces. Then the greater the penetration power stat and caliber of the round, the smaller the damage reduction. That's basically reiterating what they said up here. And reduce the armpit hitbox size, so less random shots to the side. They're trying to make the system a little bit more consistent, it seems. Now, this last part, this is the one that's going to take the most testing. I've already had some early thoughts about this, but it could be perceived in so many different ways, it's hard to know what this means exactly. So it says, if the round's penetration power stat is 15 more than the armor's effective durability, this will result in a guaranteed pen. The following must be taken into account. Now, here's the very interesting thing. Effective durability, as we know it, is normally the durability that you see in game divided by the destructibility stat for that particular material, and that then allows you to compare like for like between armors of different materials. BSG don't seem to think that that is the effective durability. They've got a different definition, which is effective durability for intact armor is approximately equal to its armor class multiplied by 10. So for a class 4 armor, they think effective durability is 40. Effective durability for damaged armor decreases with the loss of its durability points. So as an armor gets damaged to 75% or 50% or something, then this 40 value goes down to 30, 20. It's not linear, but that's kind of what they're talking about there. Many cartridges have a small starting variation in armor penetration. This has always been true, so I think this is just a list of reminders, because this is true. A lot of people don't actually realize this, but for example, bullets like SOST, which have never really been used before until it got buffed, they actually do have probably one of the bigger armor penetration deviations out of all of the ammo in the game, and that's only really been noticeable this wipe with patch 14 because people have been using it. Ammo penetration degrades with the loss of bullet velocity. Well, if you're familiar with the Tarkov Ballistics website, then you'll know that that's also always been true ever since patch 12.12. And ammo penetration may degrade after colliding with armor body hitboxes or obstacles, which again, we already knew was true as well, because you got reduced penetration and damage when firing through armor with the multi-layered hitbox stuff. I actually did a video very recently about class 4 with class 2 under it, class 5 with class 3 under it, that kind of thing, and that's already in the game at the moment. So I personally interpret this list of bullet points as things that are just reminders as to how the system works, and all this is going to do, I think, without testing it, and just from my intuition, is that this is basically meaning that, say you've got a class 4 armor on, and you have a penetration of 55, which is 15 more than the armor's, starting effective durability in BSG's definition of it, you'll get a guaranteed pen. Right now, it's like 95% or something. It goes very high, but it kind of levels off, so you never get like a guaranteed pen. But I think they're making this like very certain. So you're definitely gonna, if you've got M61 or SMB, and you shoot someone with a class 4 armor, then they're just gonna immediately go through, right? So if it's 15 more than the armor's effective durability when damaged, it'll immediately pen through, and this makes it a bit more consistent when you're using super, super high tier rounds. It makes it a little bit more compelling to use those things. So that's it for now, and the patch is going to be brewing for ages. I think it's coming up at like 2 p.m. my time in the UK, something like that. As I said, 6 hours is like the longest that we've ever seen for anything. This is like absolutely insane. Go and watch the trailer, go and have a look through. Tell me what you think in the comments below. I think it's a little bit too much, as I said, to lock the PvE mode behind this Unheard Edition. I think that PvE co-op mode should have come with EOD, and I think it should be a separate purchasable component like DLC for players on standard. I think you should be able to pay, I don't know, $30, $40 or something for access to this. If you want to buy the Unheard Edition with all of this random stuff, more slots on the flea market, increased fence standing and main menu backgrounds and whatever, then that's probably fine, and you can have that as a really high-end package, but then it doesn't really feel like that necessary. I really think that PvE co-op mode should be its own DLC thing that people can buy even if they're on standard. Okay, a last second edit to this video. I've just seen on escapefromtarkov.com/pre-order, the actual thing is up now, the Unheard Edition. It's basically all the stuff that we saw before. There's nothing separate, but look, there's a gamma case in here, so we're gonna have to see whether you get the gamma with this. There's like additional equipment for bears and USEX, which you can go and read through if you want to. Some of the stuff that is crazy, right? So the skills, attention, hideout management, weapon maintenance, bolt action rifles and pistols. This apparently is what's level 3, so vitality is not going to be a deal to that. Then you've got this unique radio item, Mark of the Unheard. This item is equipped in a special slot. It gives a 50% discount when using cash services in raids. Insured equipment returns 30% faster, and this seems completely busted. With 6+ fence rep, scavs won't shoot first at ranges over 60 meters away. This is absolutely insane. I cannot believe that this is in here. This is completely mental. Will be available for future updates. Ability to build a unique hideout zone. It depends what it is. A unique item distress signal. When the item is activated, it produces a bright flash as well as a loud sound signal. Once activated, all players on your friends list will receive a notification they can join your raid to help you. Like, I can't actually believe that this is in the game. This is absolutely insane. So that's my take on it. A lot of people are very unhappy about this in the community, so we're just going to have to see how this pans out. But we'll be doing some testing, presumably next week or something, because I'm actually away Friday, Saturday, Sunday this week, and we'll go have a look at the armor penetration stats and stuff like that. So we'll see where that takes us. But as usual, a big thank you to all my patrons, and as always, have fun in your raids.